I've used this illustration before. I'll use it once more. I'm sure there's a better one, but I've used it so long at this point. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So imagine that following Jesus could be illustrated by Christ in one hand holding a full body mirror and in the other a fire hose. And you and I, filthy after wallowing in the mud in our sin, are now being closer and closer pulled to Christ. And it's not even just that we're walking towards him. I think the last time I shared with you guys this illustration, I said maybe in this illustration, Jesus has a third hand, and with that one, he's got a lasso. And so he's, fire hose, mirror, and then pulling us in towards him. And as the Christian, born again, is getting closer and closer to the Lord, the fire hose, the water of the word is rinsing him, washing him, being washed in the word. The filth and the grime is actually, in the objective sense, being removed. You are becoming more Christ-like. You are getting better. You are being conformed day by day into the image of Christ. This is true, undeniably true. But in the very same breath, as you get closer to Jesus and the fire hose, the pressure increases and is blasting away the grime and the filth to where you're actually becoming more, not less, but more clean. You're also getting closer to the mirror, or you're getting a clearer and clearer view of the filth and the mud that still remains. And I don't know about you, but that has been my experience in following Jesus year after year after year. That it's actually at times hard to even believe that I'm being sanctified and, in the objective sense, growing, being conformed into the image of Christ's likeness, because that second half of the story, the other side of the coin, the subjective sense of perception, I'm becoming so much more aware, and not only aware, but grieved and burdened by the sin that still remains. And not only the sin that still remains, but past sins that I know are dead and been buried with Christ and fully forgiven. Even the memory of past sins, I'm now aware much more fully of how serious those sins were. In the moment that I committed those sins, I recognized that they were sins. I recognized that I needed forgiveness, but I didn't realize how serious the sin really was. And now later in life, a year later, or in some cases, over a decade later, I look back and I'm like, whoa, I knew it was wrong. I knew I needed forgiveness. I confessed that sin to the Lord. I confessed it to saints, to others. I've been assured of Christ's pardon and forgiveness. I've repented and by God's grace been restored. That's not the man I am any longer. And yet even a past sin grieves me in some ways more today than the day that I committed the sin. Not because I'm under condemnation, not because it isn't forgiven, and not because I haven't improved, not because I'm still that man, but because the softness, by God's grace, the softness of my heart to be pierced and grieved by sin is much more profound at this point of my life than it was when I was younger. And all that is grieving on the one hand, but on the other should be a profound and deep encouragement, because it is one of the surest fruits of real salvation, that you have in fact been born again, that you do in fact belong to Jesus, because you no longer merely acknowledge failure and sin, but you're grieved by it.